Hey gang, C.S. Bernard here for Geeky News. Just want to go ahead and let you know that I saw the Green Lantern movie earlier tonight, and I just want to go ahead and jot down my opinions on YouTube and such. Anyway, saw the film, and it's kind of hard to review. Part of my problem is I am a Green Lantern fan. I do read the comic books. I'm not a huge fan to the point that I know everything, but I do understand the origin stories and this, that, and the other. And this film, what can I say? This film does its job to a point, but it could have been a lot better. It could have been a hell of a lot worse, but it could have been a lot better. By comparison, I've seen Green Lantern First Flight. That was a pretty good film, in my opinion. It was short, sweet, to the point, and took care of all the origin stories and introductions of various characters. It did a lot better than this film did. I think the main problem with it was the pacing. It threw everything at you. Everything! And it did not need to do that. At least not in the way it did. I think we crammed in way too much stuff all at once. The origin story, for instance. We got the origin story of Hal Jordan and all that as pertains to the newer comic books, but we didn't go very in-depth. We saw one flashback of his father. We have no previous interactions with his, leading lady, Carol Ferris. We don't get any of that. We don't. All we get is, his job as a test pilot. He gets the ring, does a few minutes training, solves one crisis, loses one fight, and then saves, the universe. Wow. At least with, Green Lantern First Flight, we did a much better job there. We got the origin, we didn't delve into the whole fire thing, we just kind of glanced over, we didn't stay with Carol Ferris, we introduced her and then left her sitting on the sidelines. Then we got to the whole saving the galaxy stuff, and we went from fight to fight to fight to fight. And it was much more action-packed, much more compact, and ultimately resulted in the big climax, which was very well done, of the final fight between Sinestro and Hal Jordan. There was so many things we could have just plain cut from the Green Lantern live-action movie. We really could have. We didn't need Hector Hammond. We didn't. It was either we needed Hector Hammond as the main villain, and that was going to be it in and of itself. Normally, that would be the case. In this case, we got it that he just happens along, has, the improbable happen with him becoming a subordinate to Parallax, but it doesn't stick. It doesn't do anything. He gets one shot at Green Lantern, and then he's, you have failed me, direct from Parallax. He gets the "you have failed me" line and is absorbed. That's just wrong. Now, if we just focused on Parallax, that would have been a much better, much more compacted film. It really would have, because I love Parallax in this movie. In the comic books, he's just a giant space bug, but here we go ahead and kind of retool that origin story into he's a fallen guardian and such, one that turned to the dark side, and, used the forbidden power of yellow energy of fear to, combat evil in the universe. And that is so well done, and more importantly, what Parallax is it's an amorphous cloud, that absorbs entities, souls, skeletons, and all these things, and it becomes this amorphous compilation of writhing, twisting bodies, corpses, souls, what have you. And that's a very good imagery for, just this idea of fear rather than a solid being of fear such as the big space bug in the comic books. I like that. That was good. The problem with Parallax wound up being, though, that he's more about the much cheesier, simple dialogue of, oh, you have turned on me, Guardians, and now I must destroy you, and all that, and blah, 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 and all that. Parallax is much more interesting to look at than to be around in terms of a character. We needed that retooled, and we needed retooled quick. If we were to have Hector Hammond be a villain in this film, he should have been the main villain, with Parallax being the bigger threat for the sequel. That would have been much more interesting, much more useful, I think. We had in the film a kind of relationship between Hector Hammond and Hal Jordan, to where they knew each other growing up, as well as Carol Ferris. And I think that would have been a much better building up story, to have just a simple rivalry between two childhood friends over the third friend, who happens to be a girl, and, you know, growing up together, enjoying each other's company and all that, and eventually building into this kind of sexual tension, sexual rivalry and challenge. That would have been much better. Especially if, you know, it had just been that he had been mutated, you know, that his, he had gained his psionic and telepathic and telekinetic powers, and that would have corrupted him. We got that to a degree, but not to the degree we could have had. I know in the comic books in the DC universe at large that Hector Hammond isn't what you'd consider a big threat, but this film could have done a much better job. It could have really upped his stock as a villain, made him much more compelling. And we lost that. We could have had a much better film with just Hammond, with Parallax coming as the secondary, the bigger threat, the ultimate threat, in a sense. Either greater than or equal to Sinestro, who could have been a great third villain. They say that this will be a trilogy, and we could have done that. Hector Hammond, Parallax, Sinestro, and that would have been awesome. But we didn't do it. We rushed it. I can tell that as a result, this film was more about making the money than it was about telling the story, because it was rushed. I mean, this, and even Green Lantern Emerald Knights, which was supposed to be kind of a tie-in, go see this, then watch the main film, release, no. But that's because these films were made by Bruce Timm, who of course brought us Superman the Animated Series and Batman the Animated Series. Are you kidding? I mean, don't get me wrong, the director of the Green Lantern film, Martin Campbell, could have been great. I mean, he did GoldenEye and Casino Royale. People like those films. Of course, you have your people that don't like them, but those were good films. They got a lot of attention and a lot of praise. Well-deserved praise, but I don't know. Maybe that was the transitionary problem. Martin Campbell also directed the Zorro films we had recently. They did well to a point, but there you had the kind of prototypical superhero. You'd figure he would have gotten more under his belt, but what can you say? Bruce Timm created an entire animated universe for us. Batman the Animated Series, Superman the Animated Series, Justice League Unlimited, so forth and so on, and all the tie-in series, Static Shock, Teen Titans. I'll even give Crypto the Superdog a bone. I'll give it credit. These all came from the support or overall aegis of Bruce Timm and what he had to do. Martin Campbell, a kind of pulp romantic Robin Hood hero, Zorro. No, it just doesn't compare. We could have and should have done better. I don't know, maybe got Bryan Singer. I mean, come on, the dude worked the X-Men films. Why not? They stole big, watch that. They got him for Superman Returns, and while, yeah, it got shot down, I think that Singer, if turned loose with a bit more prep work from a few other people, would have been great. Who knows?